Greetings to all the believers. I wanted to create this video also just to share with you just like a personal story of what has transpired lately, where I've been on this, journey of, going through the ups and downs of corporate and identity and all these things in these later years of my life. And recently, as of last Friday, I was let go, terminated, or whatever words you would call it. And I recognize that most people in that situation would feel catastrophic about that because of their livelihood or of even their identity or all these things that are tied into our job or being able to provide. And that goes for men and women that contribute to their own household. But I felt it was something that was building up and God was preparing me for. Just kind of happened in a abrupt way where my former employer, we just had an initial meeting, even though work was already kind of slowing down for just other reasons. But I always kind of found the underlining thread of how everything is spiritual. And I would see those, especially if there's not inherent things that warrant someone being let go or just, because, I was showing up, I was a team player, did all those things. And I wanted to encourage you guys, like, even who are caught up in, the snares of corporate or just the workforce now, where you're trying to like prove yourself and do all these things. And I very much fell in that same situation. But God, throughout the whole process, was just cultivating me, developing me to really see the bigger picture of it's not about what I was doing, but how I could be an example or a vessel of God in the workplace or wherever I was at. And for me, it took me a long time to realize that, because I got my self-esteem or validation through, my colleagues or people saying, "Oh, your work is good," even though I wouldn't, I guess, phrase it that way, but just thinking about it in hindsight. And that was, and that was a large part of my, you could say, 4 to 5 years, I guess, that I spent in corporate and having jobs before that, which was different because I felt, the pure need to serve, even though I still needed to pay bills before like graduating and getting into the like professional workforce, you can call it. But it was just a different experience, I guess, when you're just working like part-time jobs and just trying to get the bills paid. But once you go to school, apply yourself for like a subject matter, and then you end up working in that field, or it doesn't even have to be in that field. But for me, I ended up getting a job in the field that I studied, which was a huge blessing, and was able to kind of work at some of the top firms in my industry of landscape architecture. But man, when I got let go, it was just a weight lifted, off my back. And yeah, man, it was just like a sense of like, dang, I'm not controlled anymore. Even though it didn't seem like that, like verbally, but you can say in a way where they're not. And what I do is more creative, as far as I was a designer. But it was a lot of times where it was just, how could I call it? I don't know. It was rigid in the sense of like, we want you just to create this, or when you improvise or innovate, there were always like problems or just nitpicking things that was just confusing to me, because a lot of times they didn't have like recommended solutions like initially before projects or whatever the case was, but then they had a lot to say in the after I would turn in something. But I just share that context to say too, like after I was let go, it was just like, man, before that or leading up to that, I was just like, man, I saw it coming, and I started to get kind of scared, or you could say nervous, or just like, Lord, how am I gonna provide? I have a mortgage, I have all these other expenses, and I want to also still be a responsible husband amongst just being a responsible man of God. But just being on this journey, just seeing God make provisions, and I love to always pray about this, like how God makes a way when there seems to be no way. And I know some of you guys can attest to that because it's truly a miraculous process, but God has given me peace through this process, even though there's a lot of transitions with just life, health, housing, all these things relationally, but still seeing God through it all and how He's continuing to He's still continuing to make way for me and my household, and that gives me joy. And in the moments where it's like so easy to just be like, Lord, I don't know what's next, but I just want to share that because God is oftentimes on the other side of like what is next if you surrender to His plan and His will for your life. And it's liberating. I was just like, all right, now I'm free. And of course I'm still like, I applied for unemployment just to have some additional like just streams coming, but this is also giving me the license to fully, you can say, go into what God is calling me to as far as like ministry and what I've been creating with Pure Belief Studio. And if you guys are not familiar, it's a you can say a ministry dedicated to empowering kingdom creators, believers, those who know or recognize that there's more to life outside of just making money or using people or just trying to get ahead when it comes to selfish desires. But Pure Belief Studio is just a creative platform that is gonna help mentor, spread awareness, and encourage and equip those who want to make a difference through the kingdom. And we're still building, this out and being obedient with this. But just me being let go is just giving me that full license. Like, all right, now you have, like my wife says, you have no reason now, to create or to do what God has put inside you, because He's created a way now for you where you don't have this thing in the background still lingering, pulling your energy in. To all glory to God for that, because I guess not never, but I thought it would take longer than it was. But then I look back, I'm like, man, that was like a short period of time, really. But when you're going through it, it feels like a millennia. So I just want to encourage you guys that it's not about your job. It's not about, these things of this world, but it's about your relationship with God and how that is going to equip you and prepare you for where God is taking you. Versus like, and I had this thought process a lot of times when I was in college. I'm like, I used to only go off the things that were around me or like my environment. I'll be like, man, this is what it's showing me, so this must be what I must go with or believe. But God has always just continued to just challenge me on that, as far as renewing my mind and understanding that this life and our walk with God requires faith versus our mere logic and our human understanding. And that is just liberating too, because it's about how God has been working in our lives, man. It's truly just, man, there's really no word for it. But I wanted to just encourage you guys that no matter what affliction, no matter what changes that you may experience in life, it all leads to one thing if you allow it to, and that is to strengthen your relationship with God, so that you can do what God put you on this earth to do, and that is to make disciples and to make God proud with how we live and the work we do on this earth. So yeah, and I'll be just sharing different tidbits about this experience, but it's still fresh and still processing it. Because my inclination is like, all right, how can I get back to work? But knowing God has already been helping me get the reps in of coming on here, even on YouTube, or just recording videos that share insights about what God has been doing in my life and how it could be applicable to you guys as well. But man, it's crazy to just think about. But I just want to leave that with you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in and just hearing a little bit about, my recent stage of events. But until next time, thank you guys. Peace.